and let's move along. The next question comes from Keith Lawler.
It seems clear that one of the major issues contributing to Tony Abbott's poor polling as preferred Prime Minister in recent days is his failure to present clear policies on a range of issues. So my question is, does his refusal to debate Prime Minister Rudd on issues such as debt and deficit, asylum seeker policy, and other issues indicate that he has nothing of substance really to offer, or is it simply that he lacks ticker?
Corinne Grant, I'll start with you.
It's the lack of detail. He still keeps holding up that little booklet. What's your little booklet called, Malcolm?
Real Solutions.
Real Solutions.
That was said with real enthusiasm.
Awkward. Very awkward. See, he cradles it like a baby, just goes, here, this is it. These are my real solutions. And today he launched a policy about cutting red tape, I think it was, and somebody said, well, OK, how are you going to do that? And he paused, and then he said, we'll get rid of the carbon tax. I went, oh, we've heard that. We've heard that. Come up with something new. Put some detail into it. There still doesn't seem to be, there only seems to be boats and carbon tax, and that seems to be it.
There's a huge amount of detail out there.
Where?
I mean, you know, if you don't read it, I mean, there's in my own area,
where would I read it? In the little
the broadband policies on the web. It's about 60 pages. It's
and it's incomprehensible, Malcolm.
Oh no! No, Corinne, you can't have it both ways. You can't say you're not releasing any policy, and then when I point you to one, you say, oh, I couldn't understand it or it's incomprehensible. I mean, that's really unfair. And look, can I just say, with respect to the debate issue, you know, we do have a debating chamber for politicians. It's called the House of Representatives, and if Kevin Rudd wants to debate Tony Abbott on all of these issues, and Tony Abbott certainly wants to debate him, he should recall Parliament. We should go back to Parliament on the schedule, and we can debate all of those things in the Parliament. If, on the other hand, Mr Rudd wants to have an early election, and we certainly agree that's a very good idea, and we'd encourage you, Albo, to have an election and get on with it, then, of course, Mr Abbott will debate him in the National Press Club or anywhere else, because that's what you do during election campaigns.
Malcolm Turnbull, is it unique for an opposition leader to refuse the opportunity for 3 cracks at a sitting Prime Minister before the election even begins?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a statistician.
Can you think of an occasion where an opposition leader has refused that kind of opportunity for public debates on policy with the Prime Minister?
Well, look, Tony Abbott is not refusing to debate Kevin Rudd. What he's saying is, if we are going to an election, if you call an election, I'll be there at the press club. If we're governing, if the election is being pushed out so Kevin can go to St Petersburg or whatever else he wants to do, then bring the Parliament back. It's due to come back in August anyway. We'll bring it back early and we'll debate these things. We have a debating chamber. It is called the Parliament. It's called the Parliament, and that's where the Prime Minister and the Leader of Opposition debate.
He already did at least have one debate outside of the Parliament and outside of an election with Kevin Rudd. So he's obviously changed his opinion on this, because that was a debate on health. He didn't win it.
Didn't go well.
According to the public.
Look, Tony Abbott was so hopeless in his advocacy against Kevin Rudd that you guys, Albo, despaired of Kevin Rudd's ability to win an election and removed him as leader. I mean, you know, Tony Abbott was responsible for creating the environment where you got rid of Kevin Rudd.
Well, why doesn't he front up, Malcolm? Thursday.
Well, why don't you bring Parliament back?
Thursday. You just said you wanted an election.
Look, anyway, you don't need Tony Abbott there. Kevin can debate himself. He can. I mean, look, take immigration. Kevin 07 can say, stop the boats, and then he can duck around to the other side of the platform, and Kevin 13 can say, oh, you can't stop the boats, you can't tow those boats back.
To be fair now,
on economics,
do the same on carbon
Kevin's had
tax.
so many positions on economics, he doesn't need to have a debate. He could be
Tony
a panel.
Abbott.
Kevin could be a whole panel. He's had 07, fiscal conservative, 08, the government should be at the centre of the economy. 09, spend. 013, we've got to cuddle up to the business community. I mean, there's a whole range.
But at least we know what they are. Tony Abbott never comes out and speaks to the people. We don't know what he thinks.
Tony Abbott...
That's why I wanted debate.
Tony Abbott... You could never call never accuse Tony Abbott of being a faceless man. He's on television
There are
all
no
the
faceless
time.
men in the ALP anymore either. We've seen them all far too many times.
I
He's
would like
never
to-
here. He's never here.
Well, he's on 7:30 report earlier this evening.
He
Hey, Bill,
won't-
I want to
he
hear from the
keeps
other
ducking
panellists.
the big debates.
So, Bill, what do you think about this?
Well,
ducking a debate or just waiting to have it in the proper
I'd like to
forum?
see as many debates between now and the election, whenever it is, as is possible. And while I agree with Malcolm's basic position that these things should take place during an election campaign, but something strange happened in February this year, and when Julia Gillard actually announced when the election would be, and although she said that she'd be putting aside days for governing and days for campaigning, it seemed to me like one endless campaign ever since. And I'm frankly sick and tired of this presidential approach to politics and elections where it's sort of like Australia hasn't got talent, or, you know...
Well, remember what... I don't know whether it was original, but Latham always used to say that politics is show business for ugly people.
Yes, that's right. But it is sort of popularity contest stuff, and I think if we do want to make it a contest of ideas, and Kevin Rudd is suggesting a series of debates, well, I think just let's have them. Let's make it a contest of ideas, and let's forget about the fact that officially we're not in election campaign mode, because whether we like it or not, we have been for months.
Well, we'd like to open up this forum to that possibility. If anyone would like to use a Q&A set and the Q&A audience, we can have a debate right here. Miriam Lyons, what do you think?
Look, I'm sure that Kevin Rudd is looking forward to debating an empty chair, but to be honest, I think that the contributions that Tony Abbott has made to Australia's public debate over the last 4 years, you know, you want to have a serious conversation about Australia's future, our economic future, a whole bunch of serious social problems, and you may as well be debating an empty chair. You know, I think that. You know, to your credit, Malcolm, the broadband policy is a serious, well-referenced, detailed policy, but it's an exception. That Real Solutions booklet is full. It's full of superficial slogans. You know, I think that, you know, this regulation, you know, we're going to save $1 billion by cutting regulation example is a great. Well, what regulation? Are we going to cut the bank regulation that was so effective in shepherding Australia through difficult economic times where we, you know, ended up suffering from the global financial crisis a lot less because we had a well-regulated sector? We're going to cut regulation of say, installing home insulation? Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah,
well, no, I can give you some examples.
You know, I mean,
one of the biggest problems we've got at the moment is we have so many layers of environmental and planning approvals. And I saw this when I was Environment Minister. It has got ridiculously too many tiers. One of our policies is, without walking away from any of the legal obligations, is to have a one-stop shop for environmental approvals for planning purposes. Now, that is a huge saving. That is a very big saving.
What is meant by
hang on,
without
just hang on a
away
second.
from any
I think we need to
Well, I
hear
can explain it.
the answer. Finish there. Go
I
ahead.
can explain it. I mean, it simply means
If you can just do it briefly.
No, it means you delegate to the state the federal government's authority under the EPBC Act, with the ability to call it back, obviously, if you're unhappy with what they're doing. But when I was Environment Minister, I can tell you, there were people doing residential subdivisions at Mission Beach in Queensland who had to come all the way down to Canberra to get federal approval because there was a threatened species issue under the EPBC Act. Now, it makes much more sense to delegate that to the state planning authorities and save all of that time and expense. Now, that's one concrete example. So this is not, you know, wafty or anything like this. There's a lot of very specific work that we've done.
Okay, we're going to another question on policy.